Yeah, I know. I'm switching to Unreal. Let's talk about it. For me, Unity is a complete mess right now. It doesn't have stuff that I want to have, and I'm seeing Unity's direction, and I'm a little bit afraid, and I'm thinking I'm switching over to Unreal instead. You might wondering, is this because Unity CEO calls the game devs fucking idiots? No and yes. No, because Unity is still a great engine another day, but this is the point where I think I'm switching over to Unreal instead, because I'm realizing now that you don't have to stick by one game engine for your life. You can try some other game engine as well. I was planning actually to go over to Godot instead, but I think I'm gonna switch over to Unreal because that's more likely to have more quality and have stuff in it, whereas Godot is recently getting some new stuff. I heard Godot 4.0 is actually getting a lot of stuff, which is great. Now, reading this article made me very upset that Unity is firing 200 people and then acquiring Iron Source directly after. And it said also that the just weeks before it happens, they promised not to do any layoffs. So they're saying are not going to lay off some people, but then they do it anyway. I think it's very shitty for the CEO to just basically shit on other people how to make games is very like toxic and very bad for the community in itself. Okay, so let's actually talk why I'm switching from Unity to Unreal instead. This is because a lot of stuff that quirks, I would say, with Unity is making me very, not angry, but very annoyed that the game engine has still not done anything about it. So if you go to this roadmap, which is the editor roadmap, you can actually see some stuff that Unity is providing and doing and also planning to do. But if you scroll down and see this, you can say hierarchy folders, meaning they don't have folders in Unity. And you might wondering, well, is this very necessary? For me, yes, because I don't like to have game objects with an empty transform, because end of the day, because you have a transform in a scene, it's gonna take more memory and waste more performance because you're gonna store that memory somewhere. You might not use it, but you're gonna store that. If you use a folder structure, you don't store any transform, you don't store any information or data to the scene, which is so nice. But Unity is just like, it's just pushing back on that idea and doing a lot of stuff that I want, and just basically just pushing it back. Why do I think Unity is a complete mess? Well, it's because of dots. Dots is Unity's new performance way to basically do the game inside their engine. And it's a very quite cool tool, but the problem is that the emptiness package has been delayed quite heavily. So I read in the blog that it was talking about internal dev and how they're gonna approach dots, and the going and the production is actually ongoing right now, but it stayed on ice quite some times, and it's making me very upset that it stayed there because it was such a quite experience to basically make dots game. And it made me a little bit sad that they also said that they are not gonna do full 100% dots games, but more likely you're gonna mix up between game objects and dots. So I think that's very disappointing, since dots is supposed to be the golden savior for most games. And also dots has a lot of stuff because they are basically rewriting the whole game engine, and so basically none of the existing tools from game objects can cohesively speak with the dots. So basically you need to have dots animation, dots sound, dots physics, dots visual scripting, and a lot of even .NET code. You need to basically do all this kind of stuff, um, because dots doesn't work anything with previously existence stuff, which made me quite sad because it's a great performance, but it doesn't integrate with anything right now. Like Cinema Machine, input system, nothing. You can't do that with dots. You can do a workaround, which okay, cool, but I think Unity is struggling with dots package to find a solution, a good solution to integrate. So I watched this video recently from Aaron Lanterman, and you can watch it from yourself. He basically talks about that he teaching to other students and basically doing shader code. Now he's doing the old shader code, and he's sort of switching from the old shader code to the newest with HRP and Universal Render Pipeline. Now in this video he basically explains the HRP lit shader code versus Universal Render Pipeline shader code, how different that is, and how quite annoying that is. So if you just look at a code, and if you have done anything shader code or shader graph to get exposed variables, you can see that the base column maps is the main texture in HRP lib. But if you go to URP, it's not called a base column map, but it's called base map. So it's quite annoying that they are changing the variable's name in the shader when it's supposed to do exactly the same thing, just with some tweaks and with the high definition stuff. But it should have the same naming convention. You can also see, and later in this video, he's basically saying the normal map. The normal map is basically having underscore normal map in HRP, but in Universal Render Pipe, it's called bump map. Why the hell is it called bump map and bump scale? And you can also say with the height map, it's called parallax map and parallax. Like, why are you changing the naming convention when it's doing the exact same thing? Unity doesn't really have a naming convention. They use property as camel case instead of passo case, which you shouldn't by C# definition. So I think it's very annoying that Unity is doing all this kind of naming convention, all these kind of annoying things. That just makes me hate the engine a little bit. Now speaking of C#, C#9 is also coming, and now we already have C#10 in .NET, but Unity needs to implement themselves into the game engine. So they also planning to move from the .NET 4.8 something like that to Core 4 CLR, which is the newest technology from .NET developers. So now they can support .NET 6 and .NET 7 and .NET 8 and .NET 9 and so on and so forth, which means it's great. But also they need to reintroduce, or sorry, rework the whole system from .NET, or sorry, C# interpretation to Unity. Not only are they doing dots, but also netcode for game objects and .NET switching and also other kind of stuff, which makes me believe that the engine is basically going tangential with each other. Now Unity also releasing some new tools like the spine tool in the newest Unity LTS version. Now the problem with that tool is that it's using Unity.mathematics, this library. You might wondering, what is this? Well, it's a new math library for Unity, and it's supposedly bring more performance, and it's sort of naming convention to shader developers. Now this is weird to me because they already have a math library called mathf. So I don't see why, but apparently it's gonna give more performance with the use of burst compiler, which if you didn't know is combined with dots. So yet again, this is something to do with dots. So they are doing a lot of stuff and reworking a lot of stuff just because of dots, which is quite worrying because now they have function team working on dots, function team works on game objects, and then they're separating the way because they both like code and structure cannot talk with each other, because if they did that, like it doesn't really work. They need to split off that section, and it's very like annoying because am I supposed to use this math library in my newest code, or am I supposed to use the regular math library? It doesn't really tell. It just says it's more highly and efficient native code. What the hell does that mean? Should I use this for rotating game objects, or should I just use this only for the dots game project? Doesn't really say anything, and we can look at this and we can see this a lot of stuff. Also, a lot of stuff that I hate about Unity with package manager, that is, they are now hiding packages because they are in experimental version or very new coming package, which is quite annoying because the hidden packages, you can't find them without googling them. So you can't find them in the editor. Well, you might be thinking, well, that's great for the newcomers or people who are not trying to do dig deep in the engine. Well, I guess the people who want to see that package now need to Google about that package, and also you can find links to all the packages which doesn't really have a continuation with the same URL. Now, how do I know this? Because I tried. If you search Unity Game Foundation, which is not a package, which I don't know if it has come a long way, but I think so. It's supposed to be like an inventory system with this sort of Unity mobile system stuff. So we can look over here, and so this is from 0.7 to 0.9, and then this was 2019 version. So this was quite long ago. So this is 2021, so it's quite recently. But I feel like if you there we go. So this is 0.1, and if we click on view the latest package, yeah, we get a completely different URL. And we don't see 0.9 or 0.8 or what, 0.7. But I feel like this is so quite annoying because if the package is hidden, we have to manually research online to find it. Even if it does, you can't find the wrong URL because you have renamed the whole package. That is quite annoying why they are doing this. Like, why is this so difficult to find this package? Obviously, I dig deeper to find that URL, but a time when like 2020 or 21, I tried to implement Game Foundation in my game project, and I found the wrong URL, and it quite upset me because I never did wonder or like knew it was a wrong URL, and they had actually updated the whole package. So it's quite annoying, and the worst part, you can't even search any package in here. So if I go to math, it's just bringing me here, and if I want to find other package, so let's go and remove this, we get to this. So I can't really search for any packages. If I search for math, we get just this. We get this, sure, and it will direct me to this, but sometimes the documentation doesn't really exist in experimental packages, which is quite annoying. Also, they have a package for Unity Json.net, which is also not very, like, I don't know how many people know about this, and it's quite annoying that it doesn't really work quite well, because remember, if you download an asset in Unity and it has .json DIL on that asset, if you download this package, it will have a conflict and you need to separate somehow. So it's quite annoying that because of how they are structured, this is not internal. Like this is not from the get-go inside of Unity. This is no DLL inside of Unity right now, because you need to manually do it yourself. So I think it's very like, why are they doing this? Like, can't they just implement this? Because I don't know about you, but I use Newtonsoft Json more than Unity's own Json system itself, because you can do some serialized settings and do some custom serializing classes and all that kind of stuff, which is quite cool. And also it's better and smarter and faster and like more performance wise. This is extremely good, but Unity somehow doesn't introduce that into Unity as a core feature, which is quite annoying. And also there's a lot of packages they need to keep in mind, like Cinemachine, Input System, Pro Builder. None of this package you need to like, you don't have access to it, so you need to keep that in mind. Now you might say that, well, that's great, because if you're working on mobile games or you're working on mobile apps, you don't need a lot of packages. Well, sometimes when you must just want one feature from a whole package, you need to download all the packages, or like a couple packages. For example, if I want to do the sprite editor, I need to download the 2D sprite editor package, just for like dragging some stuff in the sprite editor, which is quite annoying. Now, one thing I got very surprised is that Unity UI Toolkit was, I think, supposed to be a package, but they have now introduced that as a whole core feature. But it's very confusing, because I think there's the package URL up there, I think. No? Oh, you can add that by the packages. Oh, it's still up there. Okay, there we go. So you can see it's very confusing why they are not like, they're not doing a lot of stuff to some of the packages and telling about people how to use the package in a good way. Now, speaking of Unity UI Toolkit, I also hear about this is that a lot of new stuff is very breakable, for me at least. I tried to open UI Toolkit and the new search box and Unity, and instantly crash or get a lot of errors and non-stopping errors. And some people will say, well, you are using the text stream version or the newest alpha or beta version. I'm also using the LTS version, meaning it's supposed to be long-term support, which means it should be like tested on a bunch of times. So I don't get why I'm getting a bunch of errors, bunch of crashes. And the worst part is the crash system, Unity bug report, is not that great. I tried to do a lot of couple bug reports in my lifetime with using Unity, and it's very dumb and boring, and like doesn't really work even. Like, if you want to send a bug report, you need to send the whole game files, like the project files, which can be quite a lot if you have like 10 gigabytes of just project files. And now you can also just choose which file you want to send. But if you don't know where the crash or the error came from, you need to send the whole goddamn project files, which is insane. Not only that, you need to answer 3 questions on how you can reproduce that error. If I got an error and don't know how I got the error, how am I supposed to bug report if I can't say how I got the error? I don't understand why I cannot bug report the stuff that I don't know how I got that at the first place. It's like getting a blue screen when you don't know what caused the blue screen. Was it because an app was using too much memory and doing memory leak and just constantly using new memory and memory and just crashing the whole system? Is it because of that? Or is it because of something else? Or is it because, I don't know, it just bugs me that Unity doesn't do a better job with the bug report. It's been quite a long feature, and it's just simply just there and does nothing at all. Also, Unity removed the feature to change the input settings and the quality and the screen width and screen height when you're starting the game, the Unity game. I don't know why, because maybe they thought it looked ugly. Well, guess what? Now you need to do more coding to basically tell you how to change everything inside the game. And also on top of that, with the new render pipeline, you also need to go inside that render pipeline to choose more option to more rendering stuff. It's like completely messy with the new quality system and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I also dislike about the engine is that the Unity is not focusing on physics. Well, you can see right in front of me, it does really focus on physics. Well, not quite as much as I expected. The only time I see physics is either if they're doing some stuff in 2D, like over here, 2D collider, or it has something to do with articulation body, or just optimization, or even just job system like raycast command. Now you might thinking, well, this is great for physics, right? Well, yes, but they are not doing some new stuff, like new good and great stuff. For example, I want to see Unity soft body. When are we getting a soft body? When are we getting like tiny fluid simulation? When are we getting greater and better destruction and deformation, all that kind of stuff? Now you might thinking, well, Unity doesn't have the resources or that knowledge. Well, it does, because the Unity dots physics has more stuff and more quality and more better stuff in their the package, which is quite annoying because you can only use Unity.physics with entities, meaning just only dots stuff. You can't use that. For example, let's see, I'm gonna see if I can find that, because one of the feature with Unity dots physics is that you have a I think a API. So let's go into extension and we go to, I think it's a world extension, and we can see we should have this. So this is a extension method that get effectively mass from a position and from a video body. This is so cool because now you can calculate the mass from a specific point. You can't do that with regular Unity physics, which is quite annoying, because if you're working on a car physics game, you need the mass, but you can't do that. Now, yes, you can just use some other methods and just converting and doing a bunch of formulas to get that particular value, but they're doing a lot more stuff in the Unity.physics. I think mainly because they're now doing rework on that physics, so they need to know how to get that stuff. But it's quite annoying that they are not introducing, or at least trying to improve with this new technology on the regular physics engine. And just to prove that, they recently done new updates to Wheel Collider, just changing so you can now set the angular velocity value. Previously you couldn't do that, but this tells me like the Unity Wheel Collider is still like a 2D, like it doesn't have a 3D volume. So meaning if you have an object which is 3D, it's just gonna do a line cast, meaning a ray cast, simply in the center. So you're not getting a 3D volume of a Wheel Collider, you're just simply getting a 2D Wheel Collider. On top of that, it's very like broken and it doesn't support a lot of stuff to do with. So it's quite annoying, and they promise a lot of stuff in the DOS physics, but now we are getting left behind in this regular physics engine. So I'm going to talk about Gigaya and Chop Chop. Chop Chop was a community game project with Unity. Now it has now been put down, and it's very sad because it was going quite great and using a lot of cool stuff to integrate with the game project. but because of too much time and effort, they had decided to shut down. Now the same thing can be said with Gigaya, and Gigaya was supposed to be free on Steam and a sample project for Unity, like Unreal having Fortnite. Now the problem is they're now shutting down Gigaya, and supposedly fired 200 people that supposedly worked on this Gigaya project and some internal game stuff, which is quite sad and very pathetic how they just showing off that in the post and now shutting down just a few months after. It's very sad and also very bad for they to introduce a game project and they can still not promising after Shop to deliver that game. Yes, it's very complicated and hard to make a game, but at least a company should be able to have a bunch of resources and manage the resources in order to make a game. Like, come on, man. So let's talk about summary. Basically, I do not hate the engine. I have some quite annoying stuff with it, but I don't hate it in general. It's a very great engine, to be honest, and I would highly recommend for small indie developers or newcomers to use Unity because it's a very simple and quite easily programmed. However, I want to go further with my career and experience some new stuff. So I said before, I'm gonna try Godot. So I'm switching over to Unreal with C#. Now you might be wondering, how the hell am I using C# in Unreal? Well, there's a plugin called Unreal CLR, which supposedly combines C#, which supports C#10 and F#6 and all that kind of stuff, which is super great. Only the downside I found out is that basically you still need to use Blueprint in some way if you want to expose some variables, I guess. And it's a little bit choppy, or not choppy, but a little bit complicated how to get started. But once you get started, it's pretty much the same as Unity, just that it's a little bit different in some way. So basically I'm switching over to Unreal because I want to try some new stuff and explore what is the game industry have to offer. I'm quite sad with Unity's performance and quite recently controversially, and I hope Unity will evolve to something better in the future, and I hope Unity will find a path or a guidance or how the engine will look in the future. Because on one hand they're focusing on the automotive industry and the film industry with the new weather purchase, and with the gaming mobile gaming stuff and the multiplayer stuff. So they're going one direction, but they also introducing new updates and feature to the game engine, but those features is very slow and really not that specific, like impressive, I would say. So it's quite sad for me right now with Unity, because I like the engine, but it doesn't really do anything for me right now. And I'm switching over to Unreal. Unreal has a lot of stuff. It has nanite and it has the destruction physics, or I think the new physics engine, and open world stuff. Like for example, Unity doesn't have support for double precision coordinates. I don't know if Unreal has it, presumably, because Unreal can support a big open world. So that's a lot of stuff that I really like Unreal. Unreal is a little bit annoying with the UI. Still, with the new Unreal 5 UI, I'm still having trouble because it looks better, I will say that, but compared to Unity, Unity has simple UI and Unreal has very complex UI system. But yeah, anyway, if you like this video and if you want to see me rambling more, then like and subscribe, and I will see you in a new video. I don't know how, if I'm gonna return to Unity with some new tutorials, Or if I'm gonna do some Unreal tutorials, maybe not, because I need to actually learn the engine and do some research and also learn all other stuff about how to develop a game inside the Unreal. But yeah, anyway, I will see you in the future. Take care and bye.